Grand Slam track has been in the news a lot lately, for better or for worse, and I've shared my thoughts on much of it. But when I woke up this morning, I found out that Michael Johnson had posted an open letter to the Grand Slam track community. When I say the community, I mean all of it. The athletes, the fans, everybody who's a part of that framework, and I consider myself a part of that group. That said, in this letter, he was very open that the league has faced significant challenges, and money has been a major part of that. And as they've been trying to raise money, they are now at a point where they admit that they have to satisfy the debts that they've incurred through the 2025 season so that they can move forward. And that 2026, like next year's season, is not going to happen unless they're able to move forward from this page. The way I translate that is pretty simple, that it's highly unlikely that we will see Grand Slam track in 2026. But that is not just what I'm here to talk about, because Grand Slam track is multiple things depending on who you ask, because two things can be true at the same time. They gave us some of the most entertaining track and field meets that we've ever gotten in the regular season. Like, that happened, especially with the television presentation here in America. But they also had a money problem. That part is true. So, I'm not here to talk negatively about Grand Slam track, but I've also waited a long time to air out these ideas. It's not one of those videos that I had no intentions on making. I've just been waiting for the right moment to actually have the discussion. And I guess now is about as good a time as any, because I don't know if I'm going to get to watch Grand Slam track happen again. I hope I do, but I don't know when that moment might happen. But for now, I have a whole bunch of ideas on how Grand Slam track, which clearly had some things that needed to be fixed, could actually fix those problems. Again, I am just one guy, and I admit that hindsight is always 20/20. So whatever ideas I have, if they make any type of sense, I don't think it's a discredit to Grand Slam track and what they've done, because I'm just trying to improve upon the framework they already gave us. I still think there's more that can be done, because Grand Slam track was filling a void. Pro track and field, specifically track, because they're focused on the track part, in America, needs a lot of help to be viable at the pro level. And they were trying to build that through a track league. But if they're going to be a league and actually be profitable one day, there are things you actually have to do, like boxes that need to get checked off along the way. So, I am going to get into the two ways in which I think Grand Slam track can carry out its long-term vision and could have been successful. We don't know if anything like this will ever happen. I hope it does, but at the very least, I'm going to open up the discussion, see what you all have to say in the comments, because I want to see more high-level track. In our sport, we should be able to have nice things. And yes, shout out to everybody who's watching internationally, but I'm focusing specifically on the American market, because we struggle probably more than most to appreciate all the talented athletes that we actually have. To recap, what Grand Slam track's original vision was, is to give us 4 slams on the calendar, high-level pro events where the athletes who make it onto the track to compete in their 2-event model are essentially the biggest thing happening in the sport at that moment. Think of it as, kind of taking what tennis does with their Grand Slams and bringing it to track. Like, that was the goal. That's why they wanted to have 4 slams on the calendar, to kick it off and do it, go full force. Michael Johnson himself admits that maybe they were trying to do too much too quickly. And my first solution, or I guess, way that I would address the problem, because I'm going to get into 2. One is going to require a whole lot more language, and I'm going to get to that in a moment. But the first one is simple. They tried to do 4 slams and only completed 3, and they really didn't have enough money, like the way everything played out, to do even the 3 they had, and certainly not to do 4. So my solution is simple. They could have done just 1 Grand Slam. Allow me to explain. When I say 1 Grand Slam, what I mean is, if the goal is to have a high leverage pro track event, like that's what we were aiming for, the only way for it to be a Grand Slam is it has to be special. We want to see the best athletes go out there and compete in races that actually matter. Yes, prize money matters, but when you hand out Slam Champion title, it should really mean something. And when you do it too many times, too frequently, people don't get to appreciate it for what it really is. So, if they had just done 1 slam, you could build that 1 slam up to be the best that it could possibly be. You can get as many top athletes as possible. And no, all the top athletes may not come, but if there's only 1 on the calendar, let's say you're going to do it in LA, since that was their home base. It's the slam that never actually happened. Now, it doesn't take that much money to just do 1 slam, certainly not to do 2, 3, and 4. And even once you do that slam, like the athletes who come, we can go hard and say, hey, this is a special event on the pro calendar. Everything else is happening, but the slam is something different. And when you win, you are a slam champion. I think you could get the track and field world to pay attention to that weekend. You can even do 3 days. Like, I think that works fine. Once you kind of tinker it with it and work it out, because you might do one slam this year, one slam the next year, and when it gets to a point where it's really building out and getting that type of attention from the track community, maybe that's when you take the show on the road. I honestly think that one slam should stay in that one city until it's proven that people have climbed on board. Because in pro sports, generally speaking, like even in track, events belong to a city. When you have team sports, like the team belongs to a city. But in track so far, what the Diamond League has been doing, even the Continental Tour to a lesser degree, these are historic meets that belong to a location. They stay in that location and keep coming back every year. So you have a fan base that comes to watch that event. So you could have a fan base that comes to watch the LA Grand Slam. And next year, they can plan for it, look forward to it. But when you do multiple slams, I think the challenge that became, trying to do so many of them so quickly is that we kind of got to see the same experience duplicated over and over again. It started to give off a feeling that, I don't really know a nice way to say this, so I'm just going to say it the only way I know how, that it started to feel a little bit like the circus was coming to town. Like the Grand Slam track experience was, coming, is going to roll out in a city, pick up, and then go to another one and roll out again. I know that wasn't exactly what they were aiming for, but it took on a little bit of that energy. When there's only one slam, either you're in the spot or you're not. And for all the athletes who opt out, whose names who shall remain, unsaid at this moment in the video, but you know exactly who I'm talking about. Now, if they don't come, we can just flip it on them and say, hey, the slam was going down. And they're handing out a slam championship for the best pro athletes and you're not there. What's up? And you can tell them about worlds and what your goals are and how your priorities are, whatever. But at the end of the day, now we can just kind of, call cap on the whole thing and say, guess what? The fastest man in the world in the pro circuit is Kenny Bednarek because you didn't show up. You were invited and you didn't come to the line. It is what it is. But that only works if you have one slam. Which brings me now to the second or much larger proposal that I had as far as how, in my mind, I would kind of reshape the narrative of the slam. But if you're new here, I want to say thank you for even making it this far into the video. And I'm Coach Rob, and if you really want to know what's going on with the fastest athletes in the world, then you are in the right place. And if anything that I say actually connects with you, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe. But if I don't, just let me know in the comment section, because I try to read them all. What I just proposed at first isn't really a track league yet. It's just one event. And if you do multiple slams, you end up with, multiple high quality events. And you can build up to that over time. Like the slam is in LA, it has great success over a period of years, and then you have a new slam in a new city. It's like the slam is coming to this city. Like you kind of launch a new city. But that's going to take a period of years to get there. So I understand why they wanted to run fast and run hard. But if you're going to do multiple slams in a year and you're going to do it out the gate, to be real with you, I think to make it a league, you kind of got to borrow from the UFC and see what they're doing to make that thing work. You need to build stakes. And again, the money can't be the stakes. The stakes have to be the competitions building to a final championship. That's just kind of how I see it. Now, I understand the world championships exist. And with that in mind, I know that that is a problem with what I'm about to say. But humor me here. Just imagine a world where Grand Slam track doesn't just exist, but it looks like this, where the final slam is on the calendar. Let's say the final slam is going to be, in June. Let's just say this year, that's where it was going to be. When that fourth slam was going to be, somewhere on the calendar, roughly around there. And the other slams lead up to it. So now you have 3 slams. But those 3 slams have to feed into the final, because winning the final, that is what matters. The first 3 slams are all about qualifying for the final. That is what we're doing now. When you win a slam in your event group, short sprints, long sprints, long hurdles, whatever it is, you earn a spot in the final. But I honestly think that final should be 1 event at a time, not a 2-event model, and they're the reason. Because if we're going to have a pro track league that has the best athletes in the world, and we know that some athletes don't want to run 2 events in one day, And Noah Lyles said himself that one of his issues was perhaps the idea that we were going to run multiple 200s on the same day. He's like, well, who's the real winner of the 200 then? I get it. The final slam, that should be one-off races where the best athletes go out there and prove it. And that's that. Because if you win that, you're the real slam champion. But the earlier slams, like slams 1, 2, and 3, the way you qualify now is every athlete would actually have to pick their primary event. Is it the 100 or the 200? And you have to win the slam. Like, we saw slam champions, we saw that happen, but when you win a slam, like the first one, you're now automatically qualified for the final. The only way you get into the final in multiple events is you'd have to win more than one slam. So, in Sydney McLaughlin-Levroni's case, when she won the slam twice in the long hurdles, she could enter the 400 hurdles and the 400 final because she has 2 slam championships, 2 auto bids. See how that works? The key is, I'm gonna just be, I'm gonna nerd out for a moment so we can get into the weeds here. Everybody, let's just talk about the short hurdles group. No, that group should not be qualifying for the 100 final if you win 2 slams. But the reason is because they wouldn't have a qualifying performance. You could use, kind of like the World Athletics table if you wanted. You could look at, the field of people you beat, whatever it is, but come up with a bar, like a line that you have to pass to qualify for the final on standard. But regardless, those auto bids matter. But the same thing also has to apply now to adding stakes to everyone else who didn't win the slams. I think we should have just done a slam leaderboard, not just for the slam we're watching, but for all the slams, from slam 1, 2, and 3. Every athlete who ever competes in a slam puts their best performance on the board. If you're a racer who runs multiple times, guess what? When you get to run the second time, you get to raise your score. You can't go down, you can't get worse, because whatever your best performance is, that's what's going to hold. Once your best performance is on the board, say you score 16 points in a slam. On that leaderboard, we will get to see who the best slam participants actually are. If you don't win a slam to get an automatic lane where you choose your preferred lane for the final, then you are now in the group where you're hoping to get a wild card. Because when we get to the final slam, there's going to be 8 lanes in these events. That's just what we're going to do. So we're going to pull wild cards from the regular season. See where I'm going with this? Like, these races have to have stakes, where if you don't go fast enough in the first slams, you're not making it to the final. The secret, and this is where things have to get a little bit wild, is because so many top athletes didn't make it to the slams. And the concept is that you want to have the best go out there and compete. I think you're going to have to add one more unique competition. Now, that unique competition is technically adding a different meet in there. And that one is going to look almost like the final slam with one-off events, the 100, the 200, the 400, the 800, the mile, like one-off events. But it's going to be a qualifier meet. So you have 3 slams that look like what we got to witness between Kingston, Miami, and Philadelphia. Those 3 slams are going to happen. And then something else has to happen shortly thereafter, a qualifier. And the qualifier is for all the athletes who didn't actually run in the slams, because they need a shot to go to that final. If they choose not to come, they choose not to come. And again, we can flip the narrative, because when we have our slam champion at the end of it, I don't want to hear, well, Kashane Thompson wasn't there. We can change the narrative to Kashane Thompson chose not to come. You see the difference? Because if he opts out, that's on him. But we're still going to have a champion anyway. And we can say this champion is the Grand Slam champion of this league. Because for everybody who showed up and dared to show up, you are the man. The only way to take that title away is you got to step to the line and go earn it. In that slam qualifier, run a one-off race. In the 100, thinking about people who didn't show up to run in Grand Slam this year, you're probably going to end up with names like Akani Simbini, maybe a Ferdinando Manyala, Letsile Taboho, see where I'm going with this? A Trayvon Bromell. These are the types of athletes, yes, a Noah Lyles. Kashane Thompson, I already said him. They're the ones who are running for that spot. We're going to take 3 people from the qualifier. So it's just like a podium finish. One race. And yes, you'll get paid for it. We're not talking about the money. We're just talking about as fans. What do we get to watch? Because if the athletes show up to that one race and they run for real money and they run for a spot in that final, you have to hit a podium to get in. Somebody might get 4th and hey, sorry, you're not going to the final. You should have pulled up to the regular season. Because if you go in the regular season, you get to run in multiple slams and earn your way in. You get to run multiple times and raise your score perhaps as a wild card. Because you're going to have a slam champion or 2, sometimes 3. You might give out 3 more lanes to the people who came out of the qualifier, and you might get 2 wild cards. There you go. We now have 8 lanes to run our final. See how that works? The Grand Slam final is the product that we're going to tell everybody to watch. That is the weekend. That's the Super Bowl of pro track. It's something different than the Worlds, has a different qualification structure. Some athletes may only run once or twice, because all of this model I just proposed is designed to account for the athletes who pull out of meets. Because telling us that we're going to watch someone run a whole bunch of times, and then what do we know? First Grand Slam, they're not there. Or the second one, they're not there. Or the third, they disappear. I mean, you told us one thing and we got something else. So you just kind of have to make a model where athletes are going to step in and they're going to step out, and it is what it is. But every time you step to the line, your reputation is on the line as well. Because if you want to be a slam champion, you have to win on this stage. Even if you get dead last in your first event in the 2-event model, in the regular season, the leaderboard, the way it's set up, if you win the second event, 12 plus 1 is 13 points. That might actually get you close enough to the waterline to maybe sneak into the final. You see what I mean by every single race would have stakes? The league would now be advancing towards a big moment where everybody wants to be there, or at least in theory, everybody would want to be there or have a shot to be there. And on top of all this that I'm throwing at the wall, since we're already here, I might as well keep on going. I said I was borrowing from UFC, and I'm going to borrow this part as well. If we're going to do the slams, and you're going to do this season, and you have 3 regular season slams, I honestly think that one of the lanes for each of the event groups should maybe go to what we call the Ultimate Challenger. I would actually run something called the Ultimate Challenger Series. Make it look like just what they do in UFC with the Ultimate Fighter, where those athletes go out there and compete for an Ultimate Fighter contract. In this case, they're competing for a shot to run in one of the slams. Invite them out to a meet. And you don't even have to host a one-off meet. If you're trying to cut costs, because I got a whole bunch of ideas to cut costs. Like one, which again, I'm just going to throw some stuff at the wall and just say what it is. You didn't have to do the slams and kind of rent a venue all one-off. You could have just took pre-existing American meets. The Texas Relays. The Penn Relays is later in the year, and in between that you have Mount Sac Invitational. All of those are historic meets where you could have just built in broadcast windows that function in multi-day meets that are already happening. And that way, you don't have to roll out and rent out an entire venue. You also have a pre-existing fan base who are already coming to the meet. So when it comes to the Challenger Series, do the same thing. I call it the Challenger Series for a reason. Because that's what the Ultimate Fighter, like, those guys are competing to get into UFC and have a chance to compete against the best. So you're going to do the same thing with men and women, where you go to meets. I would just take, American college meets that have a history of athletes who are semi-pro or unattached or even pro competing, and just run an additional section. Run an additional 100 section. Run an additional 200 section. But the athletes know that they have to get selected to fly out to compete in that meet. The meet will be about a week to 2 weeks before the actual slam is going to go off. And yes, they're going to have to run multiple races in a day. Deal with it. Because you are an unsponsored athlete who doesn't have much money to your name, like as far as like contractually. So, this is a chance where, hey, give them Continental Tour money. I mean, if you go from making nothing to making something, and you have a guaranteed lane at the slam, which has a guaranteed payout, even if you get dead last, it's more than what you were ever going to get. People will pull up for that. And then you can film it and make a TV show out of it. And we can actually learn the stories of these athletes who are working incredibly hard, just like Ja'Cory Patterson at UPS, working night shift and doing all of that while trying to make it as a pro. People have no idea just how many athletes are really struggling but competing at a high level. And the Challenger Series, we get to watch them. Because if you're going to do multiple, I would say if you win the Challenger Series, you're automatically in. If somebody pulls out, from a meet because of injury, now whoever was second place in Challenger Series goes. Whenever somebody exits the Challenger Series, the winners, we replace them with somebody new who comes to the next city as they're fighting for their way to get into the next regular season meet. And if you don't go top 4 in the Challenger Series, you're eliminated. See how that works? That puts the pressure on everybody who pulls up, because it's a one-shot opportunity. You better go fast enough, or you ain't gonna make it into the Grand Slam. I wouldn't do it live. I would just film it, edit it down. The same way the Ultimate Fighter is. It's not done live. They film it and edit it down. You could put it on Peacock. You could even send it to a free platform like Tubi, kind of like how WWE does with, WWE Evolve, which promotes their product. There's a whole bunch of ways you could extend this. But regardless, it's another product that you can put out there, because the last thing that a track and field league is actually going to need to be a pro league in America, again, from our context, you gotta have enough sport product to actually give the people. If you have multiple slams that are 2 to 3 days, even if you do a qualifier and a final, that's technically 5 products that you have out there that are multiple days. There's still only 10 to 12 or so actual, events that go to TV. Not enough for any, broadcast partner to really be all that excited to have that league be a part. You want to maximize the amount of product so that they can put it on, keep it on, obviously if people want to watch it, and keep the attention building. So there you have it. Now, at least you get the 10 to 12 products. If you had the Challenger Series, you can add even more. Because even if it's a one-day event, you could edit it to be, 2 episodes. You can make it 3 episodes if you really want to. Or you could, cut it down and focus on only certain event groups. Maybe you don't have to do all the event groups, because the Ultimate Fighter is just, they do certain weight classes. They don't do the Ultimate Fighter for every single weight class that they offer in the UFC. But hey, I am just one guy who's trying to use my brain for more than a hat rack. Ultimately, I want to see Grand Slam track be successful, because if they're not, it's going to be a pretty long time before I expect anybody else to come into the track and field space and try to innovate. International track and field is fine. It's a wonderful product for what it is. I think World Athletics gets a bad rap because people want them to be something that they're not. It's not their goal to run professional sport. It's their goal to run international competitions, and they do that incredibly well. Pro sports is going to have to come down to pro leagues, and Michael Johnson dared enough to try to give us one in track and field. Even if his plan to save track, at least up until now, has not gone anywhere near according to plan. But I also believe that Grand Slam track, this year in 2025, didn't just have a whole bunch of potential. It actually had a whole lot of promise. There was a lot of good that happened this season. And even though that is getting overshadowed by the news cycle that we're running in right now, that when it comes to pro track, we deserve to have nice things too. And Michael Johnson specifically is the only name that I can give you who actually tried to bring us one up until now. In the sport of track and field, confidence is everything, because when you win, that is just the moment when everybody else finds out what you already knew to be true, that fast is a lifestyle. Get your fast is a lifestyle track and field gear at scarecruiting.com/shop, or use the link in the description below. It's a huge support to me and this channel, so I can continue to make you more content like this. And remember, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe.